And where are we losing business to? We are losing business to New Mexico, which will fill in for all those westerns that we used to get and draw them in. They've drawn them into New Mexico now. They're offering a better deal. They are more competitive in this sector, so that's where the big budget westerns are going. All of the big budget westerns that are being filmed this year are being filmed in New Mexico. We're losing people, big budget films to Saskatchewan, and we're losing whack business to BC. So I'm so frustrated with this when it's a green economy, it's making sure that Albertans work and their taxes come back into the coffers of the government. And who's paying them? It's money from outside. So when I look at what's important here and what's in this book, they talk about, revenues, they talk about taxes. Well, there you go. We pay people, they pay taxes into this system. We talk about changes and challenges in developing our resources. Well, there's the challenge. We can't compete anymore because of the percentage that's in place. We've had the industry send a couple of signed letters and recommendations to the minister in which they're suggesting how they could be helped. One of them is combining the Stream 2 and 3 so that those big budget films get a better percentage. It doesn't necessarily have to be combined. It just needs to be a better percentage, because you can see what we're up against in BC. They're killing us, absolutely killing us. And so is Saskatchewan, so is New Mexico. They're wiping us off the planet here. So they need that. They need the Stream 3 funding percentages lifted up into that Stream 2 level. Or you want more business? Raise it even higher than that, and we'll get it. Now, there's also been funding that has been cut to the Alberta Film Development Fund, and that's where we help our local people develop those stories and assist our local producers. And there's been a cut in that. And I understand that, we all had to take a hit because of where we are with the budget, but this one could make us money. This one can keep Albertans employed. So maybe we need to have another look at that. Sorry, I'm just going through looking for the suggestions that the community had given and what could be helpful here. They were asking for enhanced eligibility for key positions. So I listed off a bunch of different people who got work in this sector. And I sort of indicated you could get enhanced eligibility if you hired more of them or included more in that category. But what they're suggesting is that we have additional incentives to hire more Albertans in key creative roles and expanding what we're listing as a key creative role. So adding in things like production manager, costume designer, and we have some really good costume designers here. And here's another example. Wendy Partridge ran one of the biggest costume shops in Canada, and she ran it out of Calgary, and she has closed it and left the province.
She didn't move to Edmonton?
No, she didn't. She left the province. And honestly, she was one of the biggest costumers. Like, of the films that I shot way back when I was still really active in this community, she costumed every single person in the production. So she was a big costume house, big costume designer. She's gone. And that was a lot of money. She hired a lot of local people as well as other artisans to work with her. So production designer, which is different from, there's all different categories of designers, just trust me on this one. Art director, and increasing the number of performers that they would consider in lead positions from 2 to 3. And also to look at a regional bonus. Now, we're aware that often the films that come into Alberta are actually shot in rural Alberta, so they're a huge bonus for some of our smaller towns, like, for example, Fort Macleod. Brokeback Mountain, there's a number of scenes that if you know Fort Macleod well, you recognize Fort Macleod. And actually, they have a tourist business now where they take people around to where certain scenes were shot. So it really helps us if we can get those film companies to come and shoot in certain regional areas. So they were asking for a regional bonus to see a short-term benefit through the the shooting schedule and the amount of money that's spent while they're shooting, but then that longer benefit for tourism. So a regional bonus would be very helpful, and they're suggesting a bonus of 2% when a production works outside of the established Edmonton and Calgary studio zones. Well, that's rural development. You know, that's exactly what that is. And that would be very helpful, because there's some really beautiful, wonderful places in Alberta that are very scenic. And as I talked about before, Alberta has some unique things like the quality of our light. So we can compete with other places on a lot of other levels, and we're getting killed, absolutely killed, by the incentives that we are not able to provide. So if you can make our incentives the same or a little bit higher, we can compete. We have the talent, we've got the experience, we've got the trained people to do it, we've got the creative stories to do it, we've got the scenes to do it, we've got the light to do it. We compete, except what we've got for incentives now is just tanking us. And the minister has worked a lot with the local producers on issues, and we thank him for that. I encourage him to work more with the union side and the guild side, which is representing the workers, which I've listed a number of different ones. But it just strikes me that when we're looking at something like Bill 1 and Alberta competitiveness, you know, here's the future. We've got Richard Florida telling us all the time, creative thinking, creative classes. We've got other future thinkers and futurists that are saying it's knowledge-based economies is where we've got to go. Here it is. I'm giving it to you. It's on a platter. They're green jobs. It's money that stays in the province that comes from outside of the province. This is low-hanging fruit. It's low-hanging fruit for green economies. It's low-hanging fruit for competitiveness. We just need the focus and the thinking on it. So I've talked to a couple of the members of the front bench there and trying to get them on side. I flagged it specifically today to the money guy. So I'm hoping that I can convince you to look seriously at this. You want to ask me questions, please do. I have, as you are used to with me, many different documents here. I'm happy to talk about it or to set you up with somebody in the industry. But it just strikes me that there's real potential here, and you understand that from the oil and gas sector. I just watched you walk through it with your competitiveness strategy for the oil and gas sector. You guys get this. But you should be able to get it beyond the oil and gas sector, and I think you can. So thank you very much for that opportunity to lay this argument out again. I look forward to some pickup on this conversation, and I vote for support.